lean against.
Yes, I feel like in a few
Okay.
months we'll get back to inversions and core work, because this week I did some and I was like, "Ooh, wow, this is bad." Cool. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and start. And I do want you to make sure that you start seated, and you can sit on whatever feels good to you, whether it's a block or a blanket. And we're going to just take a few moments to ground and settle before we go any further. And so today we're just going to start in this seated position, and I'd like you to get comfortable. So you might start by either closing your eyes down or just resting them at some spot in front of you. And then just take a few moments to fidget around in your body until it feels like you can actually have a good seat. And so that might mean that you need to roll the shoulders a little bit. It might mean that you need to replace the hands a little bit. It might feel like you need to roll your neck around a little bit, but you're going to just take a moment to actually find your space. So this week I've been going through a training, and I found myself catch myself somewhere in the middle of it where I was like, wow, Jessica, you are like rushing through this. You're trying to multitask your way out of your life and out of this experience. And it was just an interesting reminder that all we really are ever guaranteed or promised is this moment. And how can we remind ourselves that no matter whatever is happening, that this is a solution or a problem or a puzzle that we can work with? And how can we allow ourselves to soften just a little bit any of the unnecessary tension? So for the next few moments that we're here, I'd like you to start to notice where in your body you can soften. Start to notice where in your body you can relax any unnecessary tension. Sometimes that creeps up around the mouth. Sometimes it creeps up around the eyes. You might feel it in the back, across the front of your chest, or even your hips. And you'll just allow yourself to notice that tension, and to the best of your ability, soften there. And you might begin to observe that as you start to allow different parts of the body to continue to soften, a new part of the body will come to your awareness. You might also start to notice that as you soften one part and then another, your breath starts to become a little bit more easy. So we'll start to take 3 to 4 big breaths here, maybe audible sighs out of the mouth, maybe not. And at the end of your 3rd or your 4th breath, I'd like you to start to tone the back of your throat and consciously invite in an Ujjayi pranayama. So it's a slight breath that only you can hear, and it almost sounds like it's coming through your throat. And as you continue to breathe here, you'll notice if you can lift the upper part of the chest, the ribs, the shoulders as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, the low belly starts to draw in and up. And as you take these next 3 to 5 breaths here, notice how you can continue to expand the inhalation by letting go, by softening any unnecessary tension. And notice how you can deepen the exhalation by also letting go, by releasing any unnecessary tension. And as we work through our practice today, our invitation is always to return to the breath, to return to this present moment, to trust that whatever puzzles we encounter today are puzzles that you are uniquely equipped to solve. And you're equipped to solve them by being completely grounded in this moment, not wishing things were different, not hoping you were different, not hoping they were different, but just by being fully present. So at the end of your next exhalation, you can keep your eyes closed if you'd like. You'll bring your hands to the back of your head and interlace the fingers at the webbing. Pull your thumbs into the nape of your skull, so where those 2 bones are, and inhale and lift up through the spine. As you exhale, take a little twist towards the right. And then you'll inhale and come back towards center. And then you'll exhale and go back towards the right. And inhale back to center. We'll do that 2 more times. And you're just lifting up with the inhale, almost pulling the hands into the head pushes into the hands, and exhaling, coming back. And inhaling to lift. Great. And the next time you're back to center, you'll take a moment to pause there. Next exhale, twist to the left. And inhale back to center. And you've just got 4 on this side. And you're just noticing the twist is as big or as small as you are capable of doing right now. And you're just paying attention to what it feels like in the body. Awesome. After you've done 4, we'll go ahead and stay back in the center. Inhale, pull up, and then exhale, your right elbow reaches towards your right hip. And then inhale, you'll come back up through center. And exhale, your left elbow will reach towards your left hip. And inhale, you'll come back to center. And you've got 4 sets of these. And as you side bend, you're drawing the front ribs in and back. You're lightly pushing your head back into your hands so your heart space stays open. You're pulling the hands lightly into your skull to just give a little bit of feedback. And then you're noticing where you can soften any unnecessary tension. Sometimes my shoulders start to talk to me in this position. And so you're just noticing. This should be our last set. And then after you have completed your little side bend to the left and you come back to center, you'll go ahead and stay there. You'll inhale here, pull your thumbs into your head, and exhale, push your head back into your hands, your chest lifts up so the sun wants to kiss you. And then inhale, come back to center. And you've got 4 of those. And you're just pushing your head into your hands. Your hands are pulling forward into your head. You might find that in this orientation, you want to hug your elbows towards each other, and that just changes where you feel the sensation. But you're still just leaning the head back. Awesome sauce. And after you've done 4, you'll go ahead and come back to center. And then our last one, for this one, I would encourage you to hug your elbows towards each other. As you exhale, you're going to pull your elbows down, resist your head back to do a little forward curl. And then you'll inhale, push your head into your hands and come back up. And you're just noticing what this feels like. You might feel this in different parts of your upper back, your mid back. And you're going as big or as small as you want to, as you are capable of at this point in time. Awesome sauce. And then the next time you come forward, you'll just stay there for 2 or 3 breaths. You might gently shake your head no, and by gently, I mean very slowly rocking the head right to left. You might pull the head down a little bit more as you push the head into the hands. And then just notice where you can soften. Notice where the breath has started to be held and see if you can invite the breath into those spaces. At the end of your next exhalation, gently release your hands. Bring your hands to the tops of your thighs. And then you'll inhale, pull your heart forward and through, little seated cow pose. And then exhale, round back through your spine. And you've got 4 of these. And you're just noticing how far you can round, how far you can extend. And you're just paying attention to the small, subtle movements. So it's interesting. I took a workshop this week on hypermobility, and it turns out that when you're really hypermobile, the reason you're more inclined to get injured is because you can't feel these small sensations and these small movements. And so one of the remedies or ways to help hypermobile individuals is to help them feel and connect to sensations, small things like this, so they don't end up hurting themselves. I thought that was fascinating. All right. The next time you're rounded back, stay there in that rounded position, and then see if you can touch your right ribs towards your right arm. And then inhale, come to center, and then try to do your left ribs to your left arm. I know that sounds really weird. And then come back to center, and then go back to the right. And you've got that 3 or 4 times. So this is like almost a little side bend. Your arms stay straight, but you're just trying to move your ribs towards your arm. Awesome sauce. And then from here, we're going to make these into circles. So the next time your ribs go forward, you'll inhale and the rib cage will swing forward. You'll exhale, the rib cage will swing to the left and to the back. Inhale over to the right and front, and then exhale to the left and back. And you've got 3 more on your own. And you're noticing that your head might want to go along for the ride. And if so, let it. You might notice that the arms can stay straight and it just encourages you to ripple more through the spine. Notice how that feels on your hips and your pelvis. And after you've done about 5 rib circles to the left, I guess that means we're going clockwise, you'll go ahead and find yourself in center. Take a moment to pause and notice what you notice. And then we'll take those rib circles to the left. So you'll inhale, the ribs will reach to the left, they will come forward. And then exhale to the right, rounding through the spine and back. And then you've got 4 more on your own, and you're just paying attention to what this feels like. How can you let your head be part of this undulating movement? Where do you need to let go so that the head can go along for the ride? Awesome. Yeah. And then at the end of your 5th one, you'll just come back to center. You'll take a moment to pause and breathe there. And then you'll notice if there are any shoulder circles you want to do here, any neck rolls or things that you want to do here, any other final things before we start to move on. Great. And you've got 2 more breath cycles on your own. And again, whatever you're experiencing is the puzzle you can solve, the puzzle you need to solve. Awesome. All right. Last thing before we start to bring our hands forward. Go ahead and bring your hands forward. I want you to make little fists, and as though you've got water at your hands and you're trying to flick it at me, I want you to take about 20 little flicks. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Make little fists, create some circles, and then go the other way. We're going to do a few things on our hands, but not too many. Awesome. And then if you'd like, shake your hands out. From here, let's go ahead and come forward onto hands and knees. We're going to go directly into toe squat. So if you'd like to prop yourself up on a block underneath your pelvis or a blanket underneath your knees, go ahead and do that. And as always, find where you find some sensation, but not too much. Great. And for today's toe squat, we're going to take full Gomukhasana arms. So when you're ready, go ahead and inhale, lift your left arm up, bend your left elbow, and maybe you grab your left elbow with your right hand and draw the hand behind you. You are happy to stay here. Otherwise, the right arm will reach up, the right hand will reach out, the thumb will turn to the floor, and then you'll reach the hands back behind you to interlace the hands. That may or may not happen. Good job, guys. And you'll just take 2 or 3 more breaths here. Keep pushing your head back, drawing your front ribs in, and see if you can lengthen your tailbone down. Awesome. And then you'll gently release the right hand, reach up through the left, lower the left arm down, and then the same thing on the other side. If you need to come out of the shape, by all means, please do that. But you'll bend the right elbow, grab the right elbow with the left hand, draw it in. Hug your front ribs back, happy to stay here, or reach up with the left hand. Left thumb spins to the floor, palm faces behind you, swim the arm behind you, and maybe you interlace the hands behind. Great. And then you'll notice, can you soften and can you breathe? You've got about 2 more breath cycles here. Where can you let go of tension? Has it crept up into your face, into your shoulders? Awesome sauce. Gently release. Left arm down, right arm out. Come forward, hands and knees, pitter patter your toes, having a happy little temper tantrum. And then if you'd like, shift your weight back and take a counter stretch, stretching the fronts of the knees, shins and ankles, if knees, shins and ankles like that stretch. Awesome. Great. And let's go ahead and come forward, hands and knees. We'll do just a few things to find our core before we move on. So with your hands directly underneath your shoulders or slightly forward, that gives you a different core engagement if the hands are slightly forward of the shoulders. Keep the knees underneath the hips. Go ahead and send your right foot back, tuck the toes under, and then straighten that right leg long. And then let's lift that right leg parallel to the floor. Draw your front 2 hip bones together and keep lengthening your tailbone back. Now, as you push back through that right heel, happy to stay here, good Laura. You might reach your left arm forward, and we're going to stay here for about 3 breaths. You're hugging your inner right thigh towards the left side of your mat. You're pressing your inner left arm towards the right side of your mat. Your sternum's coming forward. Your ears are lifting in line with that left arm if it's lifted. And then at the end of your next exhalation, lower that left hand, lower the right knee. Go ahead and switch to the other side. Send the left leg back. Tuck the toes under, hug all the muscles around the bones of that left leg, and then lift the left leg up. From here, hug the front 2 hip bones together. Lengthen your tailbone back and push back through that left big toe. Happy to stay here or reach the right arm forward, palm faces in, thumb faces up. Again, imagine there's a wall between your inner left leg and your right palm. Press into that wall as you lengthen tailbone and crown away from each other. Nice work, guys. Awesome. Next exhale, lower the hand and the knee. Great. Take a moment to curl both sets of toes under. Lift your pelvis up and back, downward facing dog, and keep your knees super bent. Knees super bent, knees super bent. With the knees bent, spread your widen your inner thighs out. Lift your outer hips up and see if you can hug your front arm bones towards each other. Yeah, awesome. Great. Let's go ahead and inhale and come forward into plank. Okay, some of you will just hang out here. Some of you will twist your hips to the right. Just your hips. Just twist your hips to the right. Yep. And then if you've twisted the hips to the right, you'll come back to the center and you'll twist your hips to the left. Yep. And then you'll come back to center. And you've got 3 more of those. And what you're trying to do is just trying to keep pushing down evenly through both hands as you lift the under hip butt thing up. Yep. And you're trying to see if you can engage those obliques. And if you're hanging out in plank, you're lengthening your tailbone back. Yep. Hugging belly in and reaching crown forward. Awesome. Last set. Nice work, guys. Awesome. Once you're balanced between the sides, you'll make your way back to downward facing dog. Now from here in down dog, knees still bent, reach your inner and outer heels towards the floor. Notice what that does to your calves. And then at the end of your next exhale, you'll start to bend your knees even more and walk your feet forward towards your hands. Great. Once you get to the top of your space, take a moment to hang forward over your legs. Everyone bring your hands to the outer edges of your shins. So holding onto the outer edges of your shins, I want you to push your shins in towards each other with your hands, and at the same time, push your hands out with your shins. So the hands are on the outside edges of your shins, yep, and you're pushing your shins towards each other and simultaneously pushing your shins out and away from each other. And notice what this is doing to your sacrum. So if you're having a lot of stuff happen in your low back, notice that this can widen the sacrum and let it find space. Great. Now, keep all of that and notice if you can shift your weight forward just slightly so it's evenly distributed over your feet. Yep, good job. And then from here, let's slide our hands up the fronts of our shin bones. Push your shins forward into your hands back into your shins, and lengthen your spine parallel-ish to the floor. So straighten your arms as much as you can. If you need to bend your knees, do so. Send your pubic bone back. That's looking nice, Sandy. Good job. And then from here, I want everybody to see if they can almost lift their butt up a little bit more and draw the low belly in. Yeah, okay. Draw one hand to the hip. Draw the other hand to the hip. Hug the elbows towards each other. And then inhale, come up, keep your knees slightly bent. Come up, keep your knees slightly bent. Great. All right. Let's bend your knees a little bit more. Keep holding on to your hips. I want you to see if you can try to kiss the elbows to touch each other behind you. Push your sternum forward. Now, as your sternum comes forward, keep reaching your chin towards your chest, but hugging your sternum up. And then some of you might want to take this into a standing back bend. And if so, you'll start to straighten your legs. You might turn the palms so they're flat against your pelvis, fingertips pointing up, and heart reaches up. And you'll just take a moment to pause here. Elbows are still trying to kiss towards each other. If legs are going towards straight, you're lengthening down through the tailbone, reaching up through the sternum. Nice work, guys. On your next in-breath, pull the belly in and come back up to a neutral spine. Awesome. And then exhale, release your hands alongside your hips. Great. Shake things out for a moment, and then we're going to find our breath and do some breath to movement, because none of that were we breathing. Cool. Awesome. So standing at the top of your space, feet hip distance apart. Inhale, sweep your arms out and up and overhead. As you exhale, fold forward at your hips, Uttanasana, forward fold. Yep. From here, slide the hands up the shins, find that halfway lift as long as you were just a moment before. Yep. And then exhale, fold all the way back in. Inhale, root through the feet, come back up, Urdhva Hastasana, upward salute. And then exhale, cactus the arms out, bringing the hands back alongside your feet, or your hips rather. Great, let's go ahead and try that again. So inhale, circle sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward at your hips, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, slide your hands up your shin bones, lift your spine halfway. Yep. Exhale, fold all the way back in, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise, Urdhva Hastasana, root through the feet, arms sweep out and up and overhead. And then exhale, cactus the elbows, drawing the hands alongside your hips. Great. We'll do that 2 more times. So we're bending the elbows mostly because it just changes how you're working with your shoulder blades. And we'll need it for a pose that we're doing a little bit later. Holding all the way over. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold all the way in. Inhale, root to rise, Urdhva Hastasana, upward salute. And then exhale, back to Tadasana, bending the elbows, allowing the arms to come through the sides. Great. Last set on your own. Inhale, circle sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward at your hips, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, you lift halfway. And exhale, fold back in. Inhale, root to rise, Urdhva Hastasana, upward salute. And exhale, bending the elbows, coming back to Tadasana. Great, let's add on. Inhale, circle sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward at your hips, Uttanasana, forward fold. Hands on floor or hands on blocks. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold all the way in. Inhale, float your right leg up and back. And as you exhale, reach that right foot back and put it on the floor, low lunge. You might need to walk your blocks back just a little bit, but you'll take a big breath in here. And then you'll exhale, straighten that front leg long. Inhale, coming forward back into that low lunge. And then exhale, straightening that front leg long. Great, and you've got 4 more just like this. And everyone, I want you to make sure that that left knee is tracking over the center of your foot as you come forward. And then it's tracking over the center of your foot as you straighten that leg. There you go, Laura, nice. Yep, we've got 1 more set. Keep drawing that outer left hip back even as you go back. There we go. Awesome. Next, inhale, come back to that low lunge. As you exhale, draw the belly in, start to walk the blocks forward and shift forward to a standing split. So that right leg will lift up, parallel-ish or higher to the floor. The left leg is straight. See if you can drop that outer right hip to the floor so your hips stay parallel to the floor. And then press back through that big toe mound like we did when we were on hands and knees. Awesome. Next, exhale, bend the right knee and step the right foot next to the left foot, forward fold, Uttanasana. Awesome. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold in. Great, listen closely. Inhale, bend your knees, sit low, Utkatasana. And we want to imagine that your hands are still on the outside edges of your shins. Push your shins out and push your shins in. And then see if you can reach your heart and sternum up. Yep. And then you might bring hands to heart center. You might reach your arms forward. You might reach the arms alongside your ears, but you've got 3 breaths here. Everyone press into your big toe. Think of widening your inner heels apart. There you go. And then notice that engagement on the outer hips. Next in breath, stand up, reach up, look up, maybe slight bend in your knees. And then exhale, cactus the arms out to the sides to bring them back towards your hips. Great. Adding on. Inhale, circle sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward at your hips, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. As you exhale, bend your knees and plant your palms. Great, hands on floor or blocks, there we go. Inhale, lift your left leg parallel to the floor. Yep. And then as you exhale, take a giant step back, planting that left foot on the floor. You might need to walk the blocks back if you have them. And then you'll take a big breath in here and exhale, straighten that front leg long. Awesome. And then you've just got 4 sets of this, breathing in and out, low lunge, and then that modified pyramid. And again, you're just paying attention to how does this side feel. You are uniquely capable of solving whatever issue is happening with this leg, how this hip feels. You just need to allow yourself to be present with it. And of course, that's the challenge, because I think so much of life is always asking us to do more, be somewhere else, be somehow slightly different. Awesome. And when you're coming forward, make sure that right knee is tracking over the center of that right foot. Yeah, there you go. Next in breath, come forward, low lunge. As you exhale, draw the low belly in, and then you'll shift your hands forward, shift your weight forward, float that left leg parallel-ish to the floor. Nice work. And you'll take about 3 breath cycles here. Everyone reach back through your left big toe mound a lot. Yep. Lower that outer left hip. Yep. And then see if you can hug into that imaginary wall with that inner left thigh. Yeah. Next, exhale, bend the left knee, set the left foot to meet the right. Great. For this one, let's go ahead and separate our feet hip distance apart. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold in. See if you can keep your hands on the floor or blocks. Inhale, bend your knees a lot, reach your heart forward. And then exhale, draw your low belly in. And then inhale, bring your spine up to vertical for chair pose. There we go. Great. And your hands might be at heart center. They might reach forward, they might reach up. But again, we're still pushing into our big toes. We're imagining our hands are being on the outside edges of our shins and pushing in, and our shins are pushing out. Your heart is reaching up, and you're bending into your knees as best as you can. Yep. Next in breath, stand up, reach up, look up. Awesome sauce, slight bend in the knees. And exhale, cactus the arms out to the sides to return back to Tadasana. Awesome sauce. All right, let's add on. Inhale, circle sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward at your hips, Uttanasana, forward fold. Okay. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold in. Now hands on blocks or floor. Inhale, lift your right leg parallel to the floor. Awesome. As you exhale, step that right foot long and back. Walk the blocks back with you if need be. Now this one's going to be the hard one. I want you to bend that back knee and let it hover over the floor about an inch. Great. You're going to hug both of your legs together and see if you can bring your spine to vertical. Ha-ha. Yep. From here, hands can either be on your hips or hands can be alongside your side body, but you're going to inhale, straighten that front leg, straighten the back leg, reach both arms up. And then exhale, you might come back down to that hovering lunge position. And we've got 4 of these. And so we're just trying to strengthen our legs and notice where we are right here, right now. And are we breathing? And that right knee isn't actually touching the floor. It's just coming down to hover. Awesome. The next time your right knee comes down to hover, we're going to pause here. Hands might come to your hips, hands might come to heart center. But we're going to take a moment to breathe here. You're going to push down through both legs. You're going to suck everything in, and you're going to see if you can lift up through your ribs. Next, exhale, the hands are going to return back to the floor or the blocks. You'll shift your weight forward. You'll lift your back leg parallel to the floor. And some of you will choose to hang out here. Some of you will practice drawing your hands to heart center and hovering for a moment or a breath or two in that warrior three. But you're still pushing down through your left foot. You're still reaching back through the right, and everybody's reaching forward through the sternum. Nice job. Wherever you are, next exhale, hands will come back to the floor. If they're not, bend that right knee and step the right foot to meet the left. Awesome. Take a moment here to separate the feet if you'd like. Yep. And then again, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold all the way in. And inhale, sit super low, Utkatasana chair pose. And I want you all to decide to do something different in your chair pose this time. I don't need to know what that is. I don't even have to see what that is. But you choose to do something different in your chair pose. You know, they say that we repeat certain patterns over and over again so that we have the opportunity to choose a different response, to choose a different reaction. And that's really all that our asana practice is teaching us, because we do the same poses all the time. Awesome. Next, in-breath, stand up, reach up, look up. And then as you exhale, cactus those arms out to the sides. Allow your eyes to soften or close. Sorry, all the way back down to your hips. Hands all the way back down. Yep. And then soften your gaze, close your eyes, take a moment to breathe and just observe. Do you need to fidget around here? Are you completely okay with being still? Just notice what you notice at this moment. Awesome sauce. All right, let's try the other side. Inhale, circle, sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward at your hips, Uttanasana, forward fold. Nice job. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. And then exhale, fold in. Plant your hands on the floor or the blocks. Inhale, sweep your left leg parallel to the floor. And then as you exhale, take a giant step back, planting that left foot on the floor. Walk the blocks back if you need to. Yep. And then bend your left knee so it hovers about an inch away from the floor. Start to walk your spine up to vertical, and hands can either come to your hips or hands can reach alongside your hips. Either case is totally fine. And then you'll inhale, straighten the back leg, straighten the front leg, both arms up. And then exhale, bend both knees, both hands come back down. Awesome. You've got 4 of these. Big breath in and big breath out. 2 more. Big breath in. And big breath out. Last one, big breath in. And big breath out. Awesome. Once you're back here, push into your front leg, push into your back foot, hug those points together, lengthen your tailbone down, draw the low belly up, and see if you can reach the heart and sternum up. Next exhale, hands might come to heart center or reach up and overhead. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Your hands will then come to the floor and you'll shift your weight forward, coming into that warrior 3 variation. So your left leg will lift parallel-ish to the floor. Hands might stay on the floor or hands might hover at heart center. And wherever you are, you're pushing back through your left big toe. You're squaring the outer left hip to the floor. Yep. And you're pushing into your right big toe. Nice job, guys. Awesome. You got 2 more breaths here. Notice if your outer left hip is dipping to the floor and see if you can lift that a little higher. Cool. On your next exhale, gently lower the hands to the floor, bend that left knee, step it to meet the right. Great. And then again, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold in. And inhale, sit, Utkatasana, chair pose. And then just pause and breathe. So for this variation, some of you might want to choose to lift your heels. Some of you might change what the arms are doing. Some of you might choose to just soften something, but let this pose be a little bit different. If you've lifted your heels, lower your heels down, and then inhale, stand up, reach up. Exhale, cactus the arms out to the side and lower them back alongside your hips. Take a moment to close your eyes and take a moment to breathe. And you just notice what's going on right here, right now. Cool. Now it's at this moment that we're going to go ahead and gently open our eyes and go and find a wall space. Okay. And so first thing that we're going to do is, if you can, some of you will not be able to do this, but if you can, put your hands on the wall, shoulder height. Put your hands on a wall, shoulder height, and step your feet in actually so your feet are directly underneath your shoulders. Yep, okay. So we're going to do this one first before we go into that down dog thing. I want you to just push into your right foot and lift your left leg up and away from the floor. Now, as you do that, everyone push your hands into the wall as much as you can. See if you can lift that lifted leg closer to your chest. Yep, and at the same time, root down through that standing leg. Now, you can choose to stay here, or you can reach. This would be the bent knee, arm up and over your head. Bent knee, arm up and over your head. And suddenly, this is the same thing that we did on hands and knees, but everyone push more through that right hand, root down through that right leg, lift up through that left knee, reach up through the left arm. Awesome. Lower the hand back to meet its friend, lower the leg down, take a moment to pause, and then we'll try that on the other side. So again, hands are directly shoulder height, shoulders are directly over feet, push your hands into the wall, and then shift the weight into the left leg, lift your right leg up. And by pushing your hands into the wall, see if you can lift that leg a little higher. Yep. Push down into the straight supporting leg, and the same bent knee, that arm will reach up and overhead. Now, as that arm goes up, keep pushing into the arm that's in the wall. Keep drawing your low belly in and see if you can lift that lifted leg a little higher. Aha, awesome sauce. Great. Lower the leg down, lower the arm down. We're done. Now from here, you're going to start to walk your hands down just a little bit. So your elbows are in line with your waist. Elbows are in line with your waist. There we go. Yep. So like a little chaturanga position. And then start to walk your feet back until you can bring your ears in line with your inner arms. Walk your feet back until your ears are in line with your inner arms. Great. Everyone might need to bend their knees. So Steve, walk your feet forward just a little bit. So your heels should ideally be directly underneath your sit bones. Walk your feet forward a little bit more. Yep. And then from there, you'll push your bum back. You'll let your heart melt towards the floor like we did in that seated cow position. And you'll lift your ears in line with your arms. There you go, Sandy. And then see if you can push your hands down and forward, or rather down. That's down. Push your hands forward into the wall and then isometrically drag your hands down so they're not going to go anywhere, and then lift up through your inner armpits. Yeah, nice, Jenny. Nice, Laura. Okay. Now, keeping your back this arch, step your right foot forward just a little bit. Cross your left ankle over the top of your right thigh. Keep pushing your butt back as much as you were just pushing it back a moment ago. Drag the hands down isometrically, push forward into the hands. And did we find something in that outer left hip? I got a head nod. Okay. And you're flexing through that left foot. And you're pushing your hands down and forward. You're sticking your pubic bone back as much as you can. Great. And then you'll gently come out of this, lowering the left leg down, maybe walking the feet back a little bit. Find that L-dog shape once again to find that long traction in your spine. Great. And then we'll step the opposite foot forward. So you'll step your left foot forward just a smidge. You'll cross your right ankle on the top of the left ankle. You'll bend that left leg a lot, and you'll push your knees forward. And you'll notice that depending upon how you angle that right knee, it'll change what's happening in that right outer hip. Great. And keep your spine as long as it can be. Yeah. And then very gently, you'll release the right foot. You'll start to walk your feet forward to the wall. You'll take a moment to stand. All right. Shake anything out, and then let's come back to our mats. Did we find our outer hip in that, or was that just me? I got some thumbs up. Okay. So once we're at the back or going back to our mat, let's turn to face the long edge. And before we go any further, actually, let's make sure we have a block towards the top or the front and the back of our mat. So both short edges, make sure you have a block there in case if you need one. All right. So step your feet about 3 feet apart, feet parallel to the short edges of your mat. Okay. And for most of us, let's start by turning our left toes towards the short edge of the mat. Keep your hands on your hips for a moment and then just bend and straighten that front leg. So we're going to do something wonky. You're just going to come in and out of warrior two for a moment, just to feel what this feels like in your hips and in your legs. But our final destination is going to be warrior one. So all you're doing is seeing how that front knee tracks over the front foot. You're noticing what's happening in your hips. Okay, the next time you bend into that front knee, so your left leg, you're going to pause. I encourage everyone to take their hands to their hips for just a moment. Turn your right toes to face the top of your mat. Wiggle walk your left foot slightly to the left and continue to bend into that front knee. Now from there, see if you can draw your outer right ribs forward, your left ribs back. You might bend into that front knee even more. Great. Some of you will keep your hands at your hips. Some of you will reach your arms up and overhead. Everyone, let's press down into the outside edge of our back foot. That's our right foot. Push the left knee out to the left isometrically and see if you can reach up through the heart, up through the hands, up through the gaze. Nice job. On your next in-breath, straighten your front leg long. Draw your left hand to your left hip. Reach your right arm up. As you exhale, reach forward, out, and down to come into a pyramid pose. Now you might need to bring your hand to a block. So Laura, lower the other hand to the floor. Yep, and bring the block under now, I guess your left hand. Here we go. Awesome. And so with that hand on the top hip, you can pull that top hip back. And then you can reach your heart and sternum forward. And some of you will stay right here, happy as a clam. Some of you will fold forward over that long leg. And some of you will take a rotation towards that long leg. So some of you are working with the left leg, so you'll rotate towards the left. Some of you are working with the right leg, so you'll rotate to the right. Some of you will just hang out there in pyramid pose. Nice. Awesome. And you'll just take 3 breaths here. And you're noticing what's happening in this shape. How can you adjust it so you find more stability? There's nowhere else that you have to be. There's nothing else that you have to do, just as long as you're breathing, as long as you're sensing into your body and making the necessary adjustments for you, you're doing the shape. Awesome. At the end of your next exhale, if you're in that revolved triangle, lower the hand down. Everyone will bend your front knee, push down through your feet, and roll your spine back up to warrior one. Nice job. From here, hands come back to your hips. Straighten your front leg long. And then we're going to turn both feet to be parallel to the short edges of your mat. So you might need to walk that left foot back a bit. Awesome. And then from here, I want you to just bend your right leg. Bend your right leg. Yep. And then straighten the right leg, and then bend the left leg, and straighten the left leg. And you're just going to do that 2 or 3 times. And depending upon how wide your legs are, you might find that this is no sensation, or you might find that this is a lot of sensation. So you're just paying attention to what's happening on your inner thigh of the straight leg, the back of the calf of the bent knee. Great. And then we'll go ahead and come back to center once you're balanced between the sides. So this time you're going to turn your right toes to face the short edge of your mat. Hands will stay on your hips. And you're just going to bend and straighten this leg a few times, coming in and out of warrior two. And all we're doing is noticing how that front knee is tracking over the center of that front foot. You're noticing if there's any type of pull on the inner edge of that long, straight leg, the back leg. Yeah. And then the next time that front knee bends, go ahead and pause there. Everyone return your hands to your hips. Now you're going to turn your back toes to face the same direction as your front toes. Then you're going to wiggle walk your right foot slightly to the right. And then see if you can continue to draw that outer left hip forward, draw the outer right ribs back, and yep, ripple the spine towards the new front of your mat. From here, continue to bend into that front leg, and you might reach both arms up and overhead. You might stay right here, but we're going to see if we can keep bending into that front leg, pressing the right knee out isometrically, pressing into the pinky toe edge of that left foot, tailbone lengthens down, heart and sternum lift up. Nice job. Awesome. On your next exhale, let's go ahead and straighten that front leg long. Everyone bring your right hand to your right hip. Your left hand still reaches up. Inhale, reach up through that left arm, and then exhale, reach forward, out, and down, coming into a pyramid pose. And maybe that left hand needs to find the left block, maybe not. But again, you're pushing down into the left hand, you're pushing down into your legs, and you're reaching your spine parallel to the floor. Pull your right hip back with your right hand. Yep, and you might stay here. You might start to rotate towards that right leg for revolved triangle. You might fold forward over that front leg for pyramid pose. But wherever you are, you're just taking a few breath cycles to find your feet, to find your grounding, to really notice what's happening in your body in this moment at this time. Yep. And at the end of your next exhale, if you're wound, unwind. Everyone come back to that pyramid pose type shape, and then bend your front knee, roll your tailbone down to draw your spine back up for warrior one. Hands might be at hips, hands might reach up and overhead, you choose for you. Awesome. And then on your next exhale, straighten that front leg long. Hands come to hips. Let's turn to face the long edge of our mat. And then this time, let's make sure our feet are parallel to the short edges of our mat. You might even turn your big toes in towards each other a little bit so they're slightly pigeon-toed. Now, bring your hands to your hips again and hug your elbows towards each other on your back body. Slight bend of your knees, heart and sternum lifts up, hugging elbows towards each other. Great. Notice how long your spine is here. We're going to keep this as we start to fold forward at our hips. See if you can keep that length of your spine as you start to fold forward even more where your head reaches towards the floor. So it's almost feeling like you're doing a back bend even as you come all the way in. And then once you're folded in as much as you'd like, you'll release your hands down to the floor. They can come to the space underneath your shoulders. They might walk back between your legs, or the hands might reach forward and away from you. But you've got 2 to 3 breath cycles here. So by forward, I mean like more toward down dog, Sandy. Nope, yeah. And then from here, we're gonna, again, bend one knee and then the other. And you're just gonna notice what it feels like in this orientation. Can your head be super heavy? How has this changed what you're feeling in the calves? How has this changed what you're feeling in the ankles or the inner thighs? Do you notice if you want to shift your body right to left, or if it feels completely okay staying in the center? And by body, I mean your torso. See, whatever puzzles we experience, they're all slightly different. We just have to notice that because we are slightly different. So of course, our experience of whatever may or may not be happening is going to be slightly different. Awesome. And then once you feel like you've explored both sides and you're happy with that, you'll come back to a center neutral position. From here, let's all walk our hands underneath our shoulders. With your hands underneath your shoulders, everybody bend your knees and try to make a footballer hiking a ball position. So your butt's reaching back, your spine's parallel to the, yep, I love that, Sandy. And your heart's reaching forward. Yeah, nice job, guys. Now in that footballer hiking position, keep your spine this long. Bring one hand to your hip. Bring the other hand to your hip. Hug the elbows towards each other. This was great. That's a great cue, guys. And then inhale, come all the way up. Keep a slight bend in your knees. Bend your knees even more. Swing your heels in, your toes out. And bend your knees even more. Yeah, and suddenly we find ourselves in goddess. So Laura, turn your externally rotate there. Yeah. And then for goddess, bring your hands wherever you want. So some of you will hands in heart center. Some of you will cactus. Some of you will bring your hands behind you. Some of you will hold your baby, but you're going to bend your knees and you're going to sit here. And you're going to breathe. And we've got about 3 or 4 more breath cycles here. So as you're here, you're squeezing your outer hips. You might lift your heels up and away from the floor. You might shift a little bit right to left, but you're paying attention. Nice job, guys. If the heels are lifted, lower them down. If you're shifting right to left, come back to center. And then inhale, everyone stand up, straighten those legs, lower the arms, circle the ribs out, the shoulders out, the wrists out, anything that feels like it needs to move a little bit, move it. Yep. And then find yourself in stillness. And I want you to just soften the gaze or close the eyes and notice what you notice. What are the sounds in your environment? Do you notice the texture of the surface beneath your feet? What does your breath feel like? Awesome. Gently open the eyes and return to face the top of your space. Okay. Now, once you're at the top of your space, let's go ahead and stand in Tadasana. And I want you to root down into your left leg like you've got a sandbag that's just rooting into your left leg. Lift your right leg up, letting it float up just as it did when we were pressing into the wall. And see how this can be a little bit easier. Nice job, guys. Externally rotate that right leg. Plant the right foot either on the inside edge of the thigh or the calf for Vrikshasana, tree pose. And then bring your hands wherever you would like them to be. Yeah, and you're just pausing and you're breathing. Both legs are active. Both outer hips are hugging in. Maybe the heart lifts, maybe it doesn't. Awesome. Very mindfully, you'll come out of this shape. And then before we go to the other side, I want you to just stand in Tadasana, noticing what it feels like. Yeah. And then when you're ready, all the weight pours into that right leg. Let the weight pour there first. Then the left leg just kind of floats up, one-legged Tadasana. And then as you're ready, you'll externally rotate that leg. Yeah, guys. And plant that left foot on the inside edge of the right calf or the right thigh. You'll figure out where you want your hands to be on this side. And you'll notice what's different and unique about this side. The right leg is pushing into the left foot is pushing the right leg, the outer hips are hugging in. Are you breathing? Nice work, guys. And then very gently, you'll come out of this shape. Shake things out as you'd like. I've never seen more stable trees. Good job, guys. All right. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to find ourselves in a squat. So you can either get into primitive squat, which means both of your legs are parallel towards each other, or you'll be in malasana, which means your legs are externally rotated. But we're going to sit there for about 3 or 4 breaths. So primitive squats, just like a really deep chair pose. And we're trying to keep our legs parallel to each other. Malasana, legs are a little wider, externally rotated. Awesome. And then very gently, you might need to reach your arms forward or you might need to reach your hands back. You can bring your butt to the floor, draw the soles of your feet together for Baddha Konasana. Then you'll pull your hands towards your feet towards your pelvis, your heart forward towards your feet. And then you'll just take a moment to pause and breathe here. So the feet are pushing into each other. Your hands are drawing your feet back. Your heart is coming forward to your feet. Yeah. Okay. From here, just extend your right leg out to the right. You might need to point your right foot and draw your right heel closer to your perineum. And then from here, let's go ahead and flex through that right foot. So right toes are pulling up to right knee is pulling up to right hip. And we're just going to start to walk ourselves a little further forward. So your blocks might come underneath your elbows, your arms might be straight, but we're going to come forward here. And I want you to notice where the sensation is. Do you feel sensation on the inside edge of your straight leg, of your right leg? Can you notice where you can soften any unnecessary tension? Notice where the mind is. Is it focusing on the sensations in the body, or is it somewhere else in some other part of life that's not currently happening in this moment? And then can you breathe? Great. Some of you will stay happy as a clam here, forward fold. Some of you will slightly walk out of this position, and instead of folding between your legs, you'll turn your rib cage over your right leg, and you'll come into more of a Janu Shirshasana proper, where you're folding over your right leg. Your right toes are still pulling back towards your right kneecap. You're pushing your right heel into the floor and isometrically drawing it back. And you're noticing what sensation is happening now around the outside edge of your left low back area. And everyone, can you draw your chin more towards your sternum? Yep, so the head can just be heavy. Yeah. And what sensations does that open in the back fascial line? What do you feel in your back body? In the back body, you might feel it more towards the neck, the shoulders, the low back, the back of that right leg. All right, some of you can stay there. Some of you will start to walk yourself out of this position. Start to rotate your rib cage now over your left leg a little bit more. Right hand can either come on the outside edge or inside edge of your right leg, but then you'll take a little side bend over that right leg for a variation of Pavarita Janu Shirshasana. And again, if you're taking that side bend, make sure your right shoulder is not hiking up to your ear, or your ear is not collapsing to your right shoulder, but there's space. And then see if you can breathe all along these ribs on the right side body. Nice job, guys. On your next in-breath, the left arm will reach out to the left. It'll pull you up to center. You'll lower the left arm down and just take a moment to pause here. Breathe. Notice what you notice. And then when you're ready, we'll try the other side. So we'll start back in Baddha Konasana, both feet together. Then extend your left leg out to the left. Draw your right leg closer to your perineum so the top of the foot is on the floor. Now we're going to fold forward straight between both of our legs. So your hands might just walk forward just a little bit. You might be able to fold all the way in. But we're making sure that that left leg is active. So left toes are pointing straight up to the ceiling. They're pulling back towards your left knee. Yep. And then if you can, dig your left heel down into the floor and pull it back to your left hip. It just engages more of the leg. And then you might just hang out there and pause and breathe. Oh, I like that modification, Jenny. And then you just pause and you'll breathe and you'll notice how this feels. And some of you will hang out here for the next few breath cycles. Some of you will start to walk yourselves out of this shape and rotate over your straight leg, your left leg. And you might roll over that left leg. And now you're feeling sensation on the outer right low back. And some of you will choose to stay here for the next few breaths. Some of you will walk yourselves out of this shape, come back to vertical, then rotate your ribs over your right leg. Bring that left hand either inside or outside of your left leg and take a side bend for Pavarita Janu Shirshasana. And again, you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. Where can you soften? Where can you let go? Where can you find more space and more ease? Nice work. On your next in breath, the right arm sweeps up, brings you all the way back up to vertical. Take a moment to lower the hand down and just be still. And then very gently, you'll extend both legs in front of you. And we're going to make our way onto our back. So we're going to take a little momentary reprieve on our backs to figure out how we're feeling. Some of you will keep your legs straight when you make your way onto your back. Some of you will bend your knees when you find your way onto your back. But you're just going to take a moment to pause and be still. And really allow yourself to give your weight into the floor, give it over into gravity. And as you continue to just let your weight drop, I want you to ask from a quiet space what your body feels like it most needs to do to be present in this moment. And then when you feel like you have a good indication of what that may or may not be, you'll go ahead and explore a few shapes. We've got the last few moments for you to really just explore. So some of you might want to take some windshield wipers. Some of you might want to take happy baby or a bridge pose. Some of you might want to take a thigh root, but you're just allowing yourself to check in. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what it feels like to really just be present in this moment. I think one of the things I most worry about in terms of trying to return to life pre-COVID is that I think a lot of us, myself included, just multitasked ourselves away from our lives to such an extent that we didn't notice, that we weren't always fully present. We didn't always notice what was happening in our bodies, in our breath, in our relationships, because we were constantly so busy. And that was I think, one of the gifts of COVID. It required that we all slow down. And I guess as we go into this next phase of life, whatever it may look like, how can we remind ourselves that we can slow down? That whatever is happening in this moment is the puzzle we're intended to solve, and that's okay. You've got about 4 to 5 more breaths, doing whatever is feeling good to you. And when you feel complete with your exploration of what's happening now, I invite you to make your way to some resting pose. So some of you might need to prop yourself up on things. Some people might want to do legs up the wall. Some of you might want to do a straight up traditional shavasana, but you'll allow yourself to make your way into whatever your final resting pose will be. Great. And when you feel like you're kind of settled in your spot, the first thing I'd like you to do is kind of what we did at the very beginning. I want you to notice where else you can relax. And part of that might first require that you take the opportunity to let your mind really ground you in this moment. So if you're outside, really allow yourself to experience being outside, feeling whatever you might be feeling in that outside environment. If you're inside in a familiar space, again, take the opportunity to really notice where you are. Once you've figured out where the body physically is, that allows one level of relaxation. And then from there, you can start to tune into the inner awareness. Where in your body is there muscular engagement? Where can you soften maybe the face, maybe the stomach? Where can you soften across the hips, the low back, the hands, or the jaw? And you'll just keep following that awareness. Where can you continue to soften? And I'll just leave you here with yourself for the next few moments. And the invitation is just to continue to notice what you can release, what you don't have to carry anymore, or hold on to, or worry about in this moment. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back, just take a moment to check in. Notice what you notice in this moment. If there's any part of you that longs to linger here, by all means, stay as long as you'd like. When you're ready, you'll start to invite small movement into your physical form. Gently make your way to one of your sides. And then very gently, you'll just take a few breaths here. As you're ready, start to make your way up to a tall and comfortable seat. And then when you find yourself in your seated position, just take a moment still to keep the gaze inward. And again, take a moment to fidget in any way you need to so you feel like you can sit tall and sit well. And then you'll just take 3 breaths on your own. Allow every breath to inhale and fill the body with whatever it is you're hoping or needing in this moment. And allow every exhale to let go of anything you don't need anymore. We'll end our practice with a collective breath, followed by a collective Om. Gently draw your hands to heart center Anjali Mudra. Press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of the thumbs into your sternum and lift your heart towards your hands. Soften your chin down towards your throat. Gently exhale all of the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Big breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. To that light, to that breath, and to that sound we bow. Namaste.